And next up, we have Allan Merrill. He's the CEO of Beazer Homes. They are the 23rd largest home builder in the country.
All right.
And so in this affordability constrained environment, we've seen more builders kind of even cutting corners a little bit, you could say it, a little, like in terms of like smaller homes, like doing the things to kind of pare back and improve affordability through, you know, lowering the cost, right?
Yep.
And it sounds like Beazer Homes, you don't really want to do that. You don't really like that approach.
Well, I think that's part of an answer, but I don't think it's the only answer, and personally, I don't think it's the best answer. One of the ways I think about it is, imagine trying to get consumers, if you were selling iPhones, and affordability is a problem, so we're going to go back 6, 8 years in features and sell you that phone. That doesn't seem super compelling to me. So our focus is on how can we attack the stack of costs that affect home ownership other than those things that require sacrifice. And for us, there have been 3 big points of focus. One's been on the mortgage rate, another has been in the utility area, and a third has been in the insurance area. You add those up, for most of our buyers, that's $1,000 a month, just those 3 things. And if we can attack that in a material way, that dramatically affects their ability to afford having a new home.
And so instead of getting the payment to be lower because of a lower price because it's a smaller home and you're kind of like building the iPhone 10 or the iPhone 8, going back in time.
Exactly.
You're saying, okay, let's still build the iPhone, let's build the iPhone 20.
Let's build
right?
the next one, yeah.
And try to lower their monthly payment through lower utility cost, lower mortgage, and lower insurance.
Exactly.
So how do you do it for those 3 things? Maybe let's start with utilities.
Okay, well, utilities is obviously a complicated topic because there are lots of things in your home that consume energy. So we've really focused on the building shell and then all of the components that go into the home that cumulatively allow us to reduce the energy consumption of our homes by 60 or 70% compared to code-built homes. And you know, I can get into the technical parts of that, but if you just think about a very tight home with a very high level of insulation, allows you to do some things with the equipment in your home. You know, one of the examples I like to give when I'm talking to our new home counselors is you think about one of the big costs of operating a home is you want, let's say it's 80 degrees outside, or maybe a better example, it's 100 degrees outside, and you would like it to be 70. So you have to change the air temperature in the home from 100 to 70. Well, the big question is, how many times an hour do you want to do that? Well, a home that is leaky, a code-built home, 7 air exchanges per hour, that's the number of times every hour you have to do that. The way we build our homes, they're 1.5 air exchanges per hour, so right away, we're way more efficient. But there's a lot of technology in our home as well, and again, I am always at risk of nerding out a little bit on the building science, but in our homes, all of them have what's called an energy recovery ventilator, and that allows us to use the air that we're exhausting to precondition the air that's coming in. We get to steal that cooling that we've already provided for, not mixing the air, because we want that fresh air coming in, but we can, with a heat pump, we can change the temperature of the air that we have to condition. Those 2 tricks together will reduce your utility bill by about 50%.
And did you have to invest into any R&D to get there?
Yeah, the good news for us is around the world, and even near at hand in Canada, a lot of these technologies have been fairly common. We were pretty unique in trying to take them all and put them in place in the United States, and to do it at scale across 13 states, 16 markets. And you know, Jim was talking about zoning and utility and entitlement issues. I mean, we've got all of the supply chain issues, all of the labor issues, and then all those local inspectors to educate on how you can build a substantially better home, and one that isn't a sacrifice. It's a better home, it's a more durable home, it costs less to operate, it's more comfortable, but it's different.
And so if somebody were if they were another builder out there or developer and they wanted to copy you, like, and what could they do to lower those utility costs?
I mean, it's years. You got to change your plans. I mean, small thing, but we build all of our homes with 2x6s, not 2x4s, to afford a higher level of insulation. Well, you'd think, well, what's the big deal? Well, 2 inches on every perimeter changes door swings, changes window placement. You have to redraw all your plans. You need a new supply chain for insulation because you need different materials. They can, and I think over time they will, but they're not going to get there anytime soon.
And so now let's talk about the mortgage side.
Sure. So this is actually the first thing that we did to attack the affordability problem, and it was even before affordability was really a problem. It was born out of the great financial crisis, where it was very challenging to encourage home buyers to be back in the home buying market. And one of the things that we observed is there's a middleman in new homes in particular in mortgage origination, and that's the builder mortgage company. These are pretty profitable. And we looked at that and said, you know, we'd rather be on the side of the table with our customer than across the table from them. So we set up a platform that allows a very carefully curated group of lenders to compete for that customer's business. Now, the home buyer is absolutely able to bring outside lenders to the table as well, although our curated lender group wins most of the time. And we incentivize, in fact, we insist that they get multiple loan proposals. We won't take marketing fees, we don't take origination fees. That knocks out about 3/8 of a point in the mortgage rate. That's $30,000 over the life of the house. That's over $100 a month just from the competition on the mortgage.
And how does that differ from some of these like big builders that have like in-house mortgage companies?
Well, I mean, they all report the profitability of their financial services segment, and you can take those profits, divide it by the number of homes they delivered, and they're making anywhere between $8,000 and $15,000 a home in the mortgage business.
And so now utilities, mortgage, and then the third is insurance.
And that's been the most recent area that we've attacked. And the insurance industry, and I was interested to hear the Cotality presentation because I agree with the fact that math and science matters in setting appropriate insurance rates. I mean, first of all, new homes are far less risky than used homes, in part because of the location, in part because of the materials. Our homes are a whole nother layer less risky. And the simple reason for that is we don't have any internal combustion, we don't have any gas appliances. The risk of a big boom is a big problem from an insurance company perspective. So we don't have that same risk profile. Our homes are insulated differently. The water protection is different. So water and fire are the two big risks for insurers. Our homes don't have those characteristics that other homes have. So we realized we needed to, again, curate a group of insurers who understood what was different about our home and then create underwriting that passed those pricing advantages onto the buyer of a Beazer home.
And so it sounds like with the insurance, it's both the actual build itself, which
Yes.
kind of helps to lower it.
Yes.
And then it's this in-house program that you have with kind of
them
like
compete.
with mortgage. Yeah,
Make 'em
making them
compete.
compete. And so those three things together, utilities, mortgage, insurance, what type of savings can that create for the buyer?
Depending on the cost of electricity in an area, the size of the home, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, I mean, those are all very real numbers per month savings around the country. So it's a really big number. I mean, you think about a mortgage, it's $450,000 at 6%. Quickly, I think that math's about $2,500 a month. If we can save $400 or $500 a month just with the choices we've made on the way we run our business, I think that creates an opportunity for people to attain home ownership who otherwise couldn't.
And so builders, you know, they still have sales this year. They're still building.
Yep.
But it sounds like when you talk to the builders and you look at the numbers, 2025 wasn't as good as they had hoped for. And you've kind of seen unsold completeds tick up more, and you've seen some of the builders kind of even pull back a little bit on starts in some of these markets that are a little softer. Describe the peak selling season from 2025.
Well, it was kind of a bummer. Honestly, I think we weren't alone in thinking that after a reset to a higher rate environment in 23 and 24, we had some pretty good enthusiasm heading into 25. The jobs numbers were still very good. Rates were where rates were, but we really felt like there would be more excitement in that spring selling season. It didn't materialize. And again, one of your speakers, I think you actually mentioned, starts, I believe it was April, it may have been May, started ticking down year over year. So that's been the response to a more tepid demand environment.
What are you thinking for 2026?
You know, it's hard for me to see what catalyst is going to fundamentally change the current trend that we are on. I don't have, I mean, if I did, I may be doing something else, but I don't have visibility into where rates are going to be, but I don't see a big reason to buy into a substantial reduction in mortgage rates. Utility costs aren't going to be lower. And I think that the bigger thing, Lance, is really around confidence. I happened to see this morning that the Michigan Consumer Confidence Index is approaching all-time lows, and there are a lot of reasons for that, but it's all the more reason that we want to innovate. We want to provide something that's new, that's different, that's better to sort of excite that buyer rather than saying you can have less. We want to show them that they can have more. That's how we're trying to deal with that lack of urgency and confidence.
And do you think the housing market, you know, when I kind of opened it up today, talking about like that big run-up in prices, the big run-up in, you know, strain of affordability, do you think we're in just a multi-year period of trying to recalibrate and just slowly improving affordability?
Yeah, I think we have to grind back. I think you'll see, and I agree, I think you put the Moody's stuff up. I think it'll be hard for home prices nationally to maintain a CPI level rate of appreciation, and I do think that wages will help fill in that affordability gap. So yeah, I think it's a multi-year period of sort of trying to get back to a more normalized affordability environment.
And so when you look across the country right now, a lot of the markets in the Northeast, Midwest, some of these secondary places, Rochester, Milwaukee, Cleveland.
I saw the slides. I got to be in Cleveland. I was not in Cleveland.
And so those are kind of some of the tighter markets. And then where a lot of the big publics are kind of these softer markets where affordability is kind of improving a little faster. In some of the Sun Belt, Arizona, Georgia, Florida. But your presence still in those markets, but it sounds like you're not too interested in trying to expand out into the, you know, the currently tighter markets. Why is that?
Well, I think long term, where's the job growth, where's the wage growth? And I think that there are some supply and demand dynamics right now that are favorable in those places, but when we're buying land, we're 2, 3, 4 years out from delivering homes. And like Jim, I want to bet on where job growth, population growth, and wage growth is.
And so I think that, you know, kind of zooming out, that could kind of be a good signal for, you know, investors in some of those single-family Northeast markets, not on the home building side, but because, well, one of the things that's kind of softened some of those other Sun Belt markets is the construction, right?
Right.
And so currently a lot of these tighter markets, they're not seeing, you know, builders rush in a short-term basis to add supply.
Yeah, they're also very challenging markets from an entitlement perspective. So even if builders wanted to rush in, it'd be a minute before there was any real impact.
Yeah, so you really want to stay and chase the population growth and income growth.
I love our footprint. We've made decisions about why we are where we are, and we can grow our business substantially right where we are.
And I know that, you know, you're kind of currently in the quiet period, so only so much you could say, but zooming back to like the peak selling season this year, how would you describe the variation within your markets?
Well, they were all weaker. I think you've pointed out, the data doesn't lie. Texas and Florida have been really tough. And they were tough because inventory built. I think there was a lot of enthusiasm for the spring selling season. That led to a lot of starts last fall and into the early part of the calendar year. The demand didn't materialize, so you start to see a lot of homes finished, and that puts pressure on buyers, it puts pressure on builders, it puts pressure on prices, and we saw all of that, particularly in Texas and Florida.
Are there any markets in kind of the Sun Belt where there is this long-term population growth that kind of have your attention and that you're considering pushing into more?
Well, if there were, I wouldn't tell you. Look, our growth, we have so much opportunity. I mean, there are places like Raleigh, like Nashville, that are, I would say, largely in the Sun Belt still, that just have profound growth opportunities. Our home market of Atlanta is going to continue to be a big market. So there are plenty of places for us to grow within our footprint without casting a longing glance to another city.
And we were talking to Jim, and he's seen a little bit of an easing up on material cost and now even labor. What are you seeing on that front?
I want to go after Jim anytime I speak, because I can just say what he said. I agreed with almost everything that he said. On the material side, there has been some softness. On the labor side, just in the last 90 days, I would parrot exactly what he said. We are starting to get phone calls from trades who are anxious for business, because the starts numbers have come down and they're looking into their pipeline, particularly the front end trades. And again, there's a roughly a 6-month cycle to build a home. So the front end trades are the first ones who feel it, because they're the ones who didn't get the starts last month or the month before. The back end trades are still finishing things for the calendar year end for a lot of builders, so they're not feeling it yet. But it's like a bowling ball coming through the snake. It's going to get to them. And I do think we will see some additional opportunities on the labor side into the spring of next year.
And do you think that's like outright declines there, or just like a period of it kind of holding flat?
You know, it's hard to generalize, and I mean, this is the kind of thing the sell-side analysts like to do with us. I mean, we're in 16 markets, and so you've got different trades, and you've got different seasonal patterns. It's a mix of different things, but the overall direction, I think, is going to be slightly down. There may be an exception or two to that, and there may be an exception on the other side where we get some pretty big savings. You know, for us, one of the things, and we've talked about this publicly, is building this home. It's a really different home. Building this home has been a journey. It's taken 5 years to get the building science, the supply chain, the labor base, and it was super expensive. We have sacrificed, we have invested, it has cost us money. I'm excited about the fact that we've been able to take what was a $20,000 construction cost premium and bring it down to about $5,000. And I think there's more work for us to do there, and that's just as we get better and better, and frankly, our supply chain and trades get better at building this different house.
And with immigration right now, you know, we saw a huge jump up in net international migration, 23, 24, 22. That's really decelerated sharply, right? Now, it's decelerated sharply, and, you know, there's some analysts kind of predicting it could go slightly negative, but so far, labor costs have kind of stayed in check. The macro picture of just starts rolling over. But long term, do you have any like concerns 2-3 years out for a tightness there for labor?
I do. I think that there are conditions that could arise in terms of demand where we have real challenges on the trade base. And it's one of the reasons our industry group, the Leading Builders of America, started something called the Building Talent Foundation to train young people and encourage them to explore careers in the trades. I think our group has placed, since we started it when I was chair 5 years ago, I think we've placed just about 10,000 and coached another 250,000. We as an industry are going to have to be a part of the solution. And, you know, by the way, my kids haven't followed this advice, but, you know, I think of a young person with an art history degree, you know, and $150,000 of debt and a $60,000 job, and I think about that person who's got an HVAC business or a plumbing business or a framing business who's making $150,000 and has no debt and is in Hawaii on vacation. I think the trades are a much maligned career path. And as an industry group, and our company in particular, we have invested in trying to build that to alleviate the risks that you're talking about 2 or 3 years from now.
So ChatGPT is more likely to take my job than the trades.
And probably mine, yes.
And so let's say hypothetically there was, you know, some really big giant builders who were kind of like really compressing margins in this environment to take market share.
I mean, just hypothetically.
Yeah, hypothetically.
Yeah, okay.
What would the benefits to actually scale for home building be?
Well, I mean, my first and probably most constructive answer to that is you should ask them, hypothetically. I look at it as you want to be big enough to have the resources to do cool things, and I think we are big enough. I think you can get so big it's hard to do cool things because cool things are hard, and the change and the just the stickiness of a large organization. So I like our size. When I think about what they're doing, there are volume opportunities presumably on the material side. There may be volume opportunities on the land side, although I look at that very cautiously because driving 2 exits further out to buy a larger parcel of land, that's great. When things get a little tighter, people don't want to drive 2 exits further out. So, and on the labor side, I just don't think our trades care very much how many homes we do nationally. their time, their skill has value. And it isn't a function of how many homes we or another builder do. So I think there are undoubtedly some advantages that they're pursuing. I like our size.
Yeah, and with your size, do you think that kind of gives you more ability to kind of experiment? Whereas you're not like the really small builder who, if they tried something, they'd be putting all their eggs in a basket. You're also not like the biggest who might be also constrained as well.
Absolutely, and we're big enough to matter. I can get attention. I mean, I'll tell you, and this is a little off topic, but I mean, we are including solar in communities around the country now in the home, not lease programs, but literally solar included. So I went to Q-Cell's factory in Georgia, and we're big enough to have a direct buy relationship with Q-Cell. We don't need 3 layers of intermediaries. That's just a whole nother attack on bringing utility costs down. So I do think having a certain critical mass gives you some market opportunities, but being small enough and agile enough that we don't have to do it everywhere and we don't have to do it all at once, I think that's kind of the sweet spot.
And $140,000 per home is how much you spend for homes that you build in Northern California before you even start construction, right? Fees, the local impact fees, is that right?
This was all going so well until you went there. So yeah, I gave you that number in Sacramento, in the Sacramento area, and I don't want to malign any of the particular municipalities because we will have to be back in front of them, but we recently pulled a permit on a new build, single-family detached home. It was $138,000 in permits and fees before we could start construction. And this is a municipality that complains about affordability in their neighborhood. Around the country, that's $50,000 to $100,000. And you know, if you don't mind, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a rant about that. You mind? It's okay?
Go for it.
He's giving me the thumbs up. So, look, I think we've been irresponsible. And it's going to sound, I guess, a little curmudgeonly, but you know, when I think about the permit issue, of course it affects us, but it affects our buyers. And I really try and understand, where is it coming from? What created it? And I think it's got a great analogy in the fiscal situation in this country. I mean, we're running these enormous deficits, and all that says to me is we want things that we don't want to pay for right now. We're going to let somebody else in the future pay for them. And when I look at the fees that builders pay for new construction, it is very much the same thing. We don't really have the courage at the utility district level to tell sewer ratepayers and water ratepayers and trash ratepayers and park enjoyers, here's what that infrastructure costs, because they vote. Instead, what we do is we say, we're just going to increase the fees on new construction to pay for all that stuff. Because guess what? Lots don't vote. So what we've effectively done is we said, we want things, all of us want things, and we're going to let the next generation of homebuyers pay for them. And then we're going to complain about why it's so expensive for them to buy houses.
And so lowering those fees, that could improve affordability, you think, on the margins?
On a $500,000 house, if I could take $100,000 of cost out, yeah, I think that would help.
Well, Allan, thank you so much for coming. I had reached out to almost all of the publicly traded builders in the country for ResiDay like 8, 7, 6 months ago. It was so hard to get one, but thank you, Allan, for coming.
Well, just like with my wife, I wasn't her first choice, but I'm happy to be here.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you.